you can put it out tip jar. 6:30.
All right, you ready? Okay. Good evening. Good evening. I'd like to call to order this August 8th, 2018 meeting of the Pullman School District Board of Directors. We will begin, as we always do, with our flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Superintendent Maxwell. Superintendent Maxwell, are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
There are no changes to tonight's agenda.
Thank you.
That being the case, I will move that we approve the agenda as presented this evening.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, the agenda is approved. Next, we have reports, correspondence, and program, beginning with the PHS ASB report, if there is an ASB representative here.
Not here.
Okay. All right, next we'll move on to board reports. Director Weed?
Well, things are gearing up, I guess. As you can tell, town is getting busier and busier, so it's getting back to school time. I had lunch today at Lincoln Middle School. The Culinary Academy the food was amazing. It wasn't institutional food at all. It's all scratch cooking. They cooked up a storm and had a bunch of food out, but I was so impressed. It was really good. So I'm excited that we're starting this program and working into more and more scratch cooking and healthier eating for our kids, and it's awesome. And I think that's about it for today.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Roberts?
I was really sad I was unable to go to the scratch cooking
missed
event. I had other pressing matters to attend to. We did have our first communications advisory group meeting today. That would be the communications group the board authorized at our last meeting. Things went really well, and I'm just looking forward to working with the committee going forward. So nothing else to report.
Thank you. Director Everman?
Just a reminder to the community, Steph the bus starts tomorrow. It runs through Saturday, and I went out with my granddaughter yesterday, and we bought a lot of stuff for the bus. So
Nice.
anyway, she was enthused about that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Director Tanner?
No report tonight.
All right, thank you. I also ate lunch at the Culinary Academy at Lincoln Middle School. I arrived a little bit early and got a tour of everything that was cooking in the kitchen. This is a little embarrassing to admit, but when the chef opened the case with all the heated food, I actually burst into tears because I just never expected to see so much good food in a school kitchen. Growing up, my older child is vegetarian and peanut allergic, and most menu days there was literally nothing she could eat on the menu, and now there are all kinds of roasted vegetables, fresh fruit, potato wedges, just all kinds of things there. It is so exciting. It's a huge advancement in our district, and thank you so much to all the kitchen staff. I only saw half the class because half were cooking and the other half were taking classes, but it was outstanding, and I just want to thank all the kitchen staff for putting their souls into this work. To me, it's the baseline of social justice, is putting good food in people's bellies, and it's going to happen, so I'm really excited. All right, superintendent's report.
Thank you. I'll just happen to add to my favorites this week from the Culinary Academy were the grilled cauliflower and the blueberry cobbler. It was excellent. So also with that, just to let you know a couple other things that happened today. Today we partnered with the Pullman Police Department and did a lip sync. So with some of our staff, and extra credit has to go out to Principal Hines and Principal Grove for squeezing into the mascot uniforms in 100-degree weather and lip syncing. So I do believe they'll both deserve a very restful evening tonight. So
What was the song?
one was Happy. Do you remember what the other one was?
The one that did the football games, we always find our way back home.
Oh, we always find our way back home. Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll just have to see how it turns out. So very interesting. Also, high note today, the Washington State Patrol finished the inspection of our vehicle fleet. Every vehicle passed, which they told us is very, very unusual. So congratulations out to transportation. Did a wonderful job. Also, just to let you know that all of our staff that have been working to get the buildings ready, they've been doing an excellent job. We've been painting, installing new blinds on the south side here in the high school today, so they will block the sunshine that we've had a problem with. That was reported last year, so that'll be very helpful. It won't wash out the projection. So, and lastly, I'm happy to report that we have another bargaining session on August 15th, 8 to noon. So we're excited about that as well. So, that wasn't the last thing. One other thing, Kamiak Elementary continues to be on time, on budget, and we're really looking forward to opening that school as soon as possible.
All right, thank you. All right, the next portion of the agenda is the visitors section. This part of the agenda is for anyone wishing to speak before the board, either as an individual or as a member of a group. Visitors addressing the board will go to the microphone and state their name and address prior to presenting their information. The board will listen and may offer clarification, but will not discuss the topic at this time. The board may consider moving the topic presented to a future meeting date as a discussion item. Please keep your comments civil and respectful and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. And our first speaker tonight is Tiffany Moeller.
Good. Tiffany Moeller, 1165 South Grand Avenue. Today, we, the Pullman Education Association, come this evening to the school board to express concerns over negotiations for a successful agreement with the district for the 2018-19 school year. When we, the bargaining team, began our meetings with the district in May, we expressed the following goals. 1, we need to provide the best possible education for our students. 2, we need to hire and retain the best teachers. 3, we need to put the resources where the students are and when the students are there. 4, we need to focus on areas that our members value and see where we need to make improvements. The bargaining team and district worked well together from May through late July, discussing a variety of improvements to our collective bargaining agreement. We do appreciate the work that went into this from the district. Both bargaining teams knew from the beginning that certificated salaries were going to be one of the most important areas to settle upon. Over the summer, a number of districts adopted new salary schedules that will attract and retain the best teachers with at least a 15% pay increase, and many teachers will receive increases over 20%. The bargaining team's first offer to the district was one that we felt reflected a competitive salary schedule that would hire and retain the best teachers in the area. As time went on, the bargaining team reduced the proposed salary schedule package by 13.7%. and the district increased their proposal by only 2.6%. We don't feel that the district's offer will allow us to remain competitive as more area schools are settling for higher salary increases that will solidify the ability for other districts to attract and retain the very best for their students. The bargaining team is concerned by the growing fund balance over the past few years and the projected growth to the fund balance over the next year. We are struggling to understand statements from the district that speak to the decrease in levy funding, yet fail to address increases in state funding. The funding allocated for certificated salaries for the Pullman School District are estimated to grow by 19%. These additional dollars more than make up for any loss that the district may incur. We believe our salary proposal to the district is fair and appropriate. We want to attract teachers to the district and ensure that they will remain with us for many years. We believe a competitive salary will allow us to do just what that and will benefit not only teachers but students as well. We thank you for the time, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
The next speaker is Stephanie Horn.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Horn. My address is 2315 Northwest Prairie View Drive here in Pullman. I've heard that there are people at different levels throughout the schools that think that the vote of no confidence was not a real thing. So I just wanted to talk about that for a minute, and then I have a couple other points I want to talk about. I want everybody here to know, people in the audience, if they didn't fully understand, we hope they did when they voted, but the administration and the board of directors, that was not something that we did lightly. That was terrifying. That was something we never dreamed we'd have to do. And one of the hardest things I've ever done. It wasn't a personal attack at anyone, but we were trying to get the board and our administration to collectively know we're not happy. We're scared, and I talked about trickling down. That trickles down to how we teach. At the end of the day, and even though we want to keep those feelings away from students, of course we don't talk about anything in front of students. Students feel things, especially the younger kids. They feel, when you're a parent, kids feel when you're stressed or sad. It's the same thing with teaching. It's underlying, and it can cause other things in our classrooms. Nothing horrible, but I just say all this. I want everybody to know this was not a publicity stunt. This was something we feel 80%, and we discussed this several times, 80% of the staff, the certificated teachers, voted for the vote of no confidence. Having said that, I want to thank the board. I understand that there are going to be some consultants coming in to speak to us the day before and 2 days before school starts, and I think that's a great beginning. I want to thank Dr. Maxwell. I know he's been trying to communicate more, and I've had several colleagues comment that, yeah, that's great, that's nice. The doors are opening. We've got a long way to go, but we do want to fix things so we feel good in our district, so we feel good about coming to school. The last time I spoke at a board meeting, I talked about the camaraderie that you guys have at the district office. I was in the district office. I felt that. I loved it. I loved everybody I worked with at the district office. But again, that's not trickling down, but I just said, I think it will. With time and with help from mediators. But also, everyone at the district office has got a steady pay increase every year. When you look at the numbers, teachers over about the last 8 to 10 years, I'm probably getting that number wrong, our pay has gone up 6%. And I know from looking at previous numbers of our administrators' salaries, and yes, they should get paid more, but they're getting about a steady 3% raise every single year consistently. So when do the teachers, when does that trickle down? When do we get paid what we deserve? What the McCleary decision says that we have and we should get in the form of a paycheck? That's my question that I want to leave you with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Should I go?
Go ahead, yes.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jill Brockmeyer. I'm at 120 Northwest Glen Haven Drive. I've been in front of you numerous times. It's been about a year, though. I wanted to first thank all the community members that are here today to support us, and many more have reached out to me, and I know my fellow colleagues on Facebook with their support, and I appreciate that. I want to thank Pat, Tiffany, Kim, Melissa, and Rex for representing us in such a classy and professional way. And I'd also like to thank you because I've been at all of bargaining meetings and I appreciate what I'm learning there. It's been educational, sometimes frustrating for me, but educational. I'm here tonight to talk about my years of service in Pullman. This marks my 30th year in Pullman. And I came here pretty young. I taught 2 years in California. And when I came, I eagerly taught and did that job and 2 to 3 others. I also coached, and then I worked weekends up at my mother's she ran a restaurant to make a living, to support myself, to live in Pullman 30 years ago. Not much has changed since then. I still live in my manufactured home that I barely can afford. I don't have to work 3 jobs now, I work 2 to still afford my manufactured home on the hill in Skyline Estates. My lot rent has doubled in that time. My health insurance has probably quadrupled. Luckily, I have great health insurance, luckily, because now I have 2 fake knees that I'm thankful that I've had health insurance. But this year alone, I paid $2,400 out of pocket for my health insurance for just me. So, I'm tired, and my body can't do what I could do when I was 24 years old. I'm tired of working 2 and 3 jobs to make a living when I shouldn't have to. I have a master's degree. I'm an experienced master teacher. I had my national board. I didn't choose to renew that because I was working so much. That's another job in itself. Next year, we have, right now that I know, 3 brand new teachers at Jefferson. Right now, I've been helping mentor 1 consistently when I've been up there. That's a full-time job in itself. Last year, we had 1 who's now pregnant and didn't resume her contract, but she took a lot of my time. If you want us to help build these new young teachers that we're hiring, that seems to be who we're hiring right now, then you need to keep your experienced staff. They're stepping into classrooms to nothing. They have nothing in these classrooms. And for $44,000, what they're being offered right now, they have to buy the books for that classroom, for the shelves, all the pretty stuff, the rugs. You go into classrooms today and you see what teachers put in their classrooms.
Your time has.
Okay, I'm just going to end right here and say, we have experienced teachers right now leaving. I know of 2 that have left. Of course, I'm retiring here. You guys are stuck with me for your life, but because I love Pullman. Pullman, we shouldn't have to beg for our pay increases. We shouldn't have to do this. This is not Pullman, Washington. Never has been. Please listen. Please find the money that was guaranteed for salaries and give us what we have earned. We earn it. Thank you.
Sandra Casanova.
Hi, I'm Sandra Casanova. I live in 1815 Northwest Arcadia Drive. I want to thank the leadership of the PEA and WA for gathering us here and being inspiring us. I want to also thank you for the board for beginning the work of the communication committee. We really do appreciate that you're taking the time and you're making the effort to hear all perspectives. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. And I've talked to you about those 3 girls right there a lot. SEL brought us here, and my husband has a great job in one of the best companies that I know of. He subsidizes my teaching. I have self-respect. And at the end of the day, I went to college and I got a master's degree, and I love this community, and I love the kids that I serve. And community love and loyalty doesn't pay for my kids' college bills. Community loyalty does not pay for our medical costs. If I go, there are no jobs in Clarkston, by the way, but if I went there, I would get paid right now over $30,000 more than I get paid here because of my national board certification. It would be foolish of me not to consider it. I want to remind you, community love and loyalty, they don't pay the bills. If you want to attract, keep quality teachers to have the school district that my kids were able to graduate from. I never left Pullman. I didn't even think about it. Even though at any day of the, just because I'm nationally board certified, I would move to Clarkston. That's an automatic $10,000. Never even thought about it for those 3 girls. Please remember that. Our teachers here, and I am lucky. I have a husband who has a great job. Many of our teachers are single parents, are single. We need to help them. And we need to respect the work that teachers do. I can't instill self-respect in my students if I don't have it for myself. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Meg Galnick, and I'm at 1510 Northwest Arcadia Drive. And I'm going to be speaking as a parent. For the past 12 years, I've been in Jefferson PTA, and I was just recently the PTA president for Jefferson the last 2 years. And that organization had certain guidelines about presidents speaking out on behalf or against a district or on behalf of a district. So I decided not to speak out these last 2 years, but I'm here tonight, and I have a few things to say. So as part of the Jefferson Elementary PTA, we are always looking for ways to thank our teachers. Flowers with a note that says, "Thank you for helping me bloom." A bag of popcorn for a very popular teacher. A set of highlighters that says, "You've been the highlight of my year." Teachers love getting these presents. Am I right? Yeah. I can imagine that teaching can be a thankless job at times, so these little gifts, no matter how small, are always warmly received. I think most teachers go into teaching partly because they enjoy spending time with children, and these gifts remind them how sweet and affectionate our children can be. It's a mistake, though, to think that caring for children is all that teaching entails. Teaching is not easy, even though good teachers make it look easy. Great teachers bring not just love and patience to the classroom each day, but also a set of professional skills and expertise. I urge you to acknowledge our teachers' professionalism today by thanking them the way you would any other expert with specialized expertise. Shake their hand and tell them what a great job they did helping your daughter or son understand how to sound out long vowels, or helping your son or daughter to understand the meaning of place value in 2-digit addition. But know that a handshake is still not enough. Teacher compensation is stagnant and has declined over time relative to that of other educated professionals. We can find and cite lots of research on this subject, and that's a given. There's lots of research out there. Some argue that it's impossible to raise teacher salaries to the same level as other professional fields, but the Center for American Progress research shows that not only is it possible, it's happening now. It's in districts large and small and across the country. In some of these districts, teachers are earning top salaries in less than 10 years. The early evidence shows that these changes are improving the district's ability to attract and retain high-achieving teachers. This is what we want, right? This is what we want. As anyone who has taught knows, including yourselves, a lot of you are teachers yourselves, teaching is an intellectually, emotionally, and physically challenging job. We need to acknowledge that by compensating teachers fairly for all of their hard work. Our teachers are your colleagues. Out of respect for your colleagues, please raise their salaries to a minimum of 15%. I am almost done. Okay. As a community member, parent, volunteer, and professional, I want to see our Pullman School District be the leaders in the state in supporting teacher salary increases. As a highly educated community, we have a responsibility to lead and do so. I want to acknowledge that I know this is not easy. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. Okay? I see our district administrators working hard to help our kids. I see you, Bob. I see you, Roberta. I see you guys working hard. Okay? And teachers, please don't ever go to school thinking that you are insignificant. Every time you walk into a classroom, you are amazing, you are important. I see you working tirelessly, creating magic by building relationships with our children so that they love coming to school and they love to learn. This issue is also about priorities. What are our priorities as a community? Please listen to what our community wants. We want a district that equally supports our kids and our teachers. That is the formula for success. Someone once said, great leaders are willing to sacrifice the numbers to save the people. Poor leaders sacrifice the people in the numbers. Thank you.
Rob McPherson. You are.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Rob McPherson. I live at 245 West Main Street, right here in River City. I began teaching 26 years ago. I just wanted to give you a little timeline. 10 years ago, my salary stopped. 8 years ago, I started working a second job cleaning up for a construction company. Over the next 6 years, I worked construction after school, weekends, and the summer months, which ruined my golf game, by the way. I built forms for foundations, framed, hung sheetrock, painted, set tile, set roofing, etc., etc., etc. The last 2 years, I owned my own carpentry business. More nights, more weekends. Every year, though, I feel appreciated by our administrators and board members. As an art teacher, I feel appreciated. I hear congratulations every year on the last day of school. Congratulations on a successful year. Congratulations having top-notch percentage of graduates. Congratulations having a top-notch percentage of graduates that attend college. Congratulations on numerous awards and accolades for the quality of education that we provide in the Pullman School District, and that's due to everyone here and the ones who aren't here. A competitive pay scale equals stronger students. Thank you for supporting the arts. Thank you for recognizing us and congratulating us. Thank you for congratulating us very much. Now, reward us. Thank you.
Ellie Pope is the next person on the list.
Come on up.
Some people didn't know about the list.
Oh, okay. Well, is Ellie here?
Well, come on up, Ellie.
Okay.
She's giving,
Sure.
she's
Come on,
giving
we can do
this
it together, too.
Okay.
Well, hi, folks. My name is Matthew Sutherland. I'm running for State House in the 9th. I live at 2200 Westwood Drive, Pullman, Washington. I want to talk to you a little bit about my experience in the past few months. I used to be an NCO in the Army, and recently I moved to the dark side, as they call it. And when I asked my lieutenant what the best pieces of advice he had for me, he said, I got two. All right, the first one was make a plan and execute. The second one, he said, was the most important thing, is take care of your folks. If you do nothing else as a leader, take care of your soldiers. And so I'm hearing from folks out here, people working multiple jobs just to scrape by, of people barely able to put food on the table. And I promise you that's not just Pullman, but all over the state, all over the district. I feel that we need to make sure we're taking care of our folks. We need to make sure we're taking care of our teachers, because not a single one of them deserves to be put in the position they are right now. So I want to make sure that it's very clear that this is a top priority for us as a community, is to make sure that teachers get pay that is adequate, that they deserve. All across the state, we're seeing 14 to 21% increases, and to not give them that, there's no excuse. And so I want to make sure that no matter what, together, when we look forward to finding solutions, as we go together as a team, that we are going to make sure that anything less than something fair for all these teachers is unacceptable. Anything less than that is unacceptable. And I want to make sure that we're working together as a team to make sure that happens. My brother and his fiance, his wife, that was actually pretty recent, so I have to adjust. My brother and his wife are paraeducators, both working to become teachers. And my brother wanted to become a teacher because of his teacher. His history teacher was a huge influence on his life. My brother and I struggled. When we were young, we lost my mother to brain cancer. My brother struggled a lot more than I did. And it was because of one of his teachers that he was able to get better grades in school, to come back and to find that resiliency. And we know that a lot of teachers out here are much more than just teachers in the classroom between their working hours. They are long-term, lifelong mentors, friends of our family, and some of the strongest community members and most involved people that we will ever meet. And so I want to make sure that we're rewarding them for that too, because that is a thankless job, being a mentor for kids when they're having their own kids. So I want to make sure that we're working together as a team, and I want to advocate my support for these folks. The budget that we have at a state level is a moral document that shows what we value. And this last year, we finally said that we are going to value teachers. And so we've been able to set aside money just for them. And so it's time to value those teachers and give them the pay increases they deserve. And I want to make sure that when I have kids, they meet a great teacher, they're inspired to do the same good work before them, that they are able to go into a profession and put food on the table and not worry about paying for healthcare costs and not worrying about making ends meet. They should be, at the very least, able to not live paycheck to paycheck. And that's what these teachers deserve. Thank you very much.
If others are planning to address the board, could you just form a line? There are no other speakers signed in, but if you want to address the board, let's. And if there are others, if you could just stand in line, then we'll be.
It's a really short line. My name is Becky Dubin. I live at 520 Northwest Sunset Drive here in Pullman. And I don't want to be up here. It makes me really nervous and I'm uncomfortable. But I'm here because I want you to know I am not in any way associated with the school district, except that my kids go there. And they go there because I was raised in Oklahoma, and I don't know if you know much about their school system there, but it's deplorable. It's truly horrible. And so we moved here so our kids would have a good place to go. And so I've never attended a school board meeting before because I didn't feel like I had to. Honestly, last year I felt like I had to, but then I voted and I thought things would be better. But so now I'm here now because I really feel like these teachers need a raise because we need to be competitive with the surrounding areas. If we don't have competitive teachers, my kids don't get a good education. But I want you to know too that 5 years from now, they'll be gone. My kids will be gone. But if there's still, I would be here, what I'm trying to say is if I had kids or not. Because this is the community I live in, and we have to maintain, we have to be competitive and maintain that good system. And I have a feeling you're going to tell me at some point when I listen that there is no money. It's just not there. We can't do it. And if that is the case, we must go find the money. We cannot lose who we are. This is not just a value that I hold. It is how I see our community identity. And so I'm just coming here because I want you to know I don't work for the school board. I'm one of so many who are right now camping, who can't be here, who are doing whatever because of the time of year. But there's so many of us parents and other community members who feel this way. It's just not, I don't want you to watch the union and the teachers and say, well, that's what they want. I want you to know it's what I want. And I want it not just for my kids and not just for your kids, but for this community. And so I'm asking you to seriously take that on. Thank you so much.
Hi. I have left and come back. And Roberta, I know you. Lisa Sully's in the building. Remember me? Hi. Had to say it. I left Kelso a year before Roberta did and brought my 4 kids here to Pullman. And the greatest thing about it was I was a single mom, and every teacher in this district embraced my children. And my children all have college degrees because of the teaching and the education they got here. It wasn't, hey, maybe you'll go on to do this or that. It was something you did. What are you going to do after school? And it was goal-oriented from day one. I say, if you think you don't have the money, spend your reserves until you really don't have any money, or you're not going to have these good teachers. And it's not just about the district, it's about the camaraderie that goes on with, if you want good teachers at WSU and good employees at Schweitzer, if you don't do something that makes people want to move here with their children, okay? People have children, they're not going to move somewhere where their kids aren't going to have good teachers. And teachers are better when they're treated right. So just find it, spend it. You need more later, we'll go get it.
Hi, my name is Jake Bledsoe from 1021 Lion Road in Moscow, Idaho. I'm a 20-year veteran here at Pullman High School. I'm also a 23-year veteran of the U.S. Army, Army Reserve, and Army National Guard. I bring that point up because while one of the earlier speakers was talking about the military service part, it occurred to me in 2003-2004, myself and one other teacher deployed to Iraq in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Now, for myself as a commissioned officer, that's not the major point. For myself as a commissioned officer, I saw, honestly, a significant increase in my take-home pay. But what was more poignant to me was that the other teacher, who was a young teacher here in the district, and was a junior enlisted person, we call him a specialist or an E4, not even a sergeant, received more monthly compensation deployed forward than he received as a teacher at Pullman High. And that was in 2004. So when we look at those points, and for me, I am fortunate with my continued service. Yes, it is my second job. It is my second career that I work through. The other point that I was noting as you were talking here is the idea that we are blessed in Pullman with a community that repeatedly has always voted to maximize out levies and to provide the maximum financial support they're allowed to in order to ensure we have quality schools. And so the question is, how are we being stewards with the money they're providing for us? I recognize the need to bank it. I appreciate, especially from the 2008 budget crunch, that we had a significant cash reserve. The previous superintendents, especially Mr. Rockefeller, Dr. Rockefeller, put us in a position that allowed us to weather that storm significantly. But at the same time, there is a point where you need to ensure that we are being good stewards of the community's funds, and if they're going to provide us that money, we're using that to educate their children, provide the best possible education for those people, not necessarily to bank it always for that rainy day, to keep it reasonable as we go. And so my concern, based on our local community, with the University of Idaho, with Washington State University, is that we will always be able to get some of those mid-level teachers to come here, but they're coming here long enough to get that master's degree or that educational level that will allow them to get the better compensation packages they can get from other schools elsewhere in the state. So are we going to retain people who are going to serve our community the best, or are we going to act as the training depot to provide outstanding teachers to other districts in Washington? Thank you.
Would anyone else care to address the board? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank all of you for speaking.
Yes, thanks very much.
All right. The next item on our agenda this evening is the consent agenda. To expedite business at a board meeting, the board approves the use of a consent agenda, which includes items considered to be routine in nature. Any item which appears on the consent agenda may be removed from the consent agenda by a member of the board and voted on separately. The remaining items will be voted on by a single motion. Tonight's consent agenda consists of minutes, personnel report, professional and personal services contract, records destruction, and warrants. And I would now entertain a motion regarding the consent agenda.
I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
I will second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is our public hearing for the 2018-2019 budget.
So you're going to recess too.
Oh, we have, okay. The board will recess into a public hearing to listen to public comment on the 2018-19 budget. The board will then resume the regular board meeting. So our public hearing is now open. So again, if you would like to make comments about the budget, you may do so. And I would just ask that you organize yourselves to do that. Is anyone here to make comments on the budget? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times. Okay, it appears there are no comments on the budget. So we will close the public hearing on the budget and resume the board meeting. So the next item, action items tonight. The first action item is 2018-19, fixing and adopting the budget, 4-year budget summary, and 4-year enrollment projection presented by Fiscal Manager Diane Hodge.
Okay, I usually get up and talk up there, but just so I can see, I'm going to sit here and hopefully use this so it works. But I've already presented this budget thoroughly twice in the board advance and then at the last board, the board discussion. So I'm just going to do just a brief summary of what you guys will, what we're asking you to approve tonight. Is it not working now? Yeah, it's on. It's not working now. That's working, but this isn't. Oh, there it goes. Okay, just needed time to warm up. So this is the recommended budgets that we're presenting tonight for your approval for fixing and adopting. I just want to point out we have that $400,000 there that we are transferring from general fund to the transportation vehicle fund. We received, Joe Thornton went out and received a $140,000 grant for 4 new buses. So we have to purchase 4 buses. We get $35,000 apiece. And so that will be transferred to the transportation vehicle fund so we can purchase 4 new buses, which we are in dire need for. This is our projected enrollment. We ended in 2017-18 with 2,817 students. This is the first time ever that we have projected our enrollment above our ending enrollment. So in 18-19, we're projecting 2,845 students. That's what our budget is based on. We're funded off enrollment, and so that is what our funding is based on.
This is the 4-year projection that we're required to do effective this year for the 18-19 moving forward. As you can see, our goal here is to end with 7.2 million this year in order to just be at 2.6 million in 4 years. This is a very conservative budget. I do want to point out expenditures moving forward from 18-19 to 21-22 only increased 0.5%. So here you can see we have an additional $300,000 or $3 million. I wish it was 300,000. $3.3 million in expenditures. That's the opening of Kamiak. In 2018-19, our projected budget for Jefferson is $4 million. Franklin and Sunnyside are just right at $3 million. So we're projecting once everything pans out that Kamiak will cost an additional $3 million a year. And we have to remember, we're opening a new building. We're funded off students, but we're not getting 300 to 400 students to fund that building. So we have to use our reserves to fund that. You'll see in 2019-20, we have $775,000 left in unassigned fund balance. And the board has a policy of a 7% fund balance, maintaining a 7% fund balance, which is almost the equivalent of 1 month's payroll. So if the board is set on the board policy that we have in place, we need to keep $2.6 million in the minimum fund balance account, which leaves us with $775,000 in the unassigned fund balance. In 2020-21, if we maintain that fund balance, we're already in the whole $2.2 million. If we didn't maintain that minimum fund balance, we would have a fund balance of approximately $534,000. In 21-22, that unassigned fund balance would go to $5.5 billion in the hole if we maintain that 7% minimum fund balance. If we didn't maintain the 7% fund balance, we'd still be $2.6 million in the hole. So, Matt had mentioned that, there's levy changes, we have the LEA that offsets any levy that we don't get. So, effective in 2019, January 2019, we are limited to $1.50 per $1,000 of assessed value. That means we can only collect a portion of the levy that our voters approved. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so right here, this is what we will be collecting in our levy. The state will supplement this amount with local effort assistance. So if we don't get our full levy, then the state is going to supplement this amount, which leaves us in the hole this amount. So over 4 years, we're just right under $3 million that we're not able to collect. So again, take that back to your legislatures to remove that levy cap, because that's really going to help. But that's our reality right now. The budget, according to RCW 28A.505.050 and Washington Administrative Code, we're required to have our budget inspected by or reviewed by ESD prior to budget adoption. So they have reviewed our numbers. They're reasonable numbers based upon our FTE. They make sure our revenue is correct and everything is correct, and then it goes to OSPI for approval. So I do want you to know that this budget is pre-approved by ESD before it goes to OSPI to check for accuracy and make sure it's reasonable. So we just need to keep calm and ask questions. I like Becky Dubin's response that if we don't have the money, we need to find the money. And what I really suggest we do is we have got to fight the legislature for regionalization. I think we need to come together in order to get our teachers that pay raise. It's just as expensive to live in Pullman as it is in Spokane, if not more. And I think we need to, if they get regionalization, Pullman needs to get regionalization, and we really need to fight for that in order to get that money. So this is our reality. This is what it is right now. We've got to be able to sustain the money that we have, especially opening Kamiak. When we went out for a bond, a levy, when we went out for a levy a couple years ago, the one thing we heard was, what about the large class sizes? My kids are in 27 to 29 class sizes. So we threw it out to the community real quick saying, okay, we're going to take it out for a bond. If you guys want a bond, you got to prove it. Well, it approved. So that's where we are with CAMIAC. That's why we built CAMIAC for reduced class sizes. But we still want to be able to maintain the same programs that we currently have. So we do have to do something, there's no doubt about it, and I think we need to really talk to our legislatures. They've got to remove that levy cap, or we've got to fight for regionalization.
Both.
And so we're asking, what's that?
Or both.
Or both, absolutely both. And we're not the only district in this situation, so, so tonight we're just asking that you approve the recommended budgets.
Thank you, Diane. I can move that. Oh, do you have a question?
Quick question.
Sure.
In the planning for the 4-year projections, did you include any salary increases, or is it static with the current salaries that we have?
No, the IPD, so the state will allocate the IPD, the implicit price deflator, which is about 1.9% to 2%. And then we also did the increases, so if people were to move on the steps, but it doesn't factor if someone gets a degree that goes from a bachelor's to a master's. It doesn't account for any of that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I will move that we approve Resolution 18-1901, the adoption of the budget for the 4-year and the 4-year plan summary and enrollment projection. Do we need to do it separately, or do you want to? No, it's all in one. Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2018-19 fixing and adopting the budget 4-year budget summary and 4-year enrollment projection. Is there further discussion?
I just had a question for Diane.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned going to the legislature to remove the levy cap and to lobby for regionalization money. So is there precedent amongst school districts, especially in Eastern Washington, that are doing that?
There needs to be, because there's Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's 2 school districts on the east side of the state that got regionalization, that's Spokane and Meade. That was it. Yeah, so we're beyond disappointed. We've actually had personal conversations with the legislatures to change that and tell them how important regionalization is for Pullman. But we need to come together as a group, and we need to do it. They need to hear more voices.
And I'll just add to that, out of 295 school districts, only 99 received regionalization. Most of those are on the west side. In 2018 legislative session, there was a push for regionalization. 6 additional districts received regionalization, all of them on the west side. Not one on the east side.
So, assuming that the budget is fairly accurate in its projections, what happens in 3 to 4 years when the reserve fund is exhausted? What are our strategies for dealing with that?
So our strategies for dealing with that, we've just got to look year to year. Once we open up CAMIAC, we just may have to maintain positions. We may have to look at programs. I mean, that's something that's going to be up to the board on where we want to see those reductions if something doesn't change. But this is our reality. We can't, in my personal opinion, and again, this is only my personal opinion, the legislators have washed their hands of doing anything because, the Supreme Court has ruled that they have satisfied what they need to do, but really, they just did as a disservice is what they did.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Okay. The budget and projections are approved. Next action item is secondary student parent handbooks.
And that would be me.
Yes.
It is now. Just a second here. We'll see if we can bring it up. There we go. All right. There we go. Sorry about that. So again, this was brought before the board at our last board meeting. One of the projects that we've been working on this school year's past year was standardizing our secondary parent and student handbooks. Obviously, there's going to be somewhat differences between the high school and the middle school, such as parking permits at the high school versus the middle school. However, I do want to compliment the staff, both Lincoln Middle School and Pullman High School, for working on this effort to both align the student handbooks. The table of contents is relatively the same, so when someone's going through it, it's easier to access and find the information. We've also gone through and updated it with most recent policies and procedures that we've passed, as well as updating some ancient language. So for this coming year, we've got a great start. There's a little bit more in the technology end of it that we'll work on this following year, but I'm happy to report that we have a much better product.
I move that we approve the secondary student and parent handbook.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2018-19 parent and student handbooks as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? All right, those handbooks are approved. Next, we'll move on to our discussion items. The first discussion item tonight is the 2018-2019 assessment plan presented by Assistant Superintendent Roberta Kramer.
Good evening. So as every year, I come to the board with a presentation of our assessment plan for the next school year. A couple of things that are different that haven't appeared on the assessment plan before is that you'll notice that there's a specific NAEP testing, which is a national assessment that if we are receiving federal funds of any kind, we have to participate in, and it is the luck of the draw. Franklin's fourth grade has been selected for both reading and math. I don't recall in recent history being involved in a situation where one grade level at one school got both of them, but that is what has occurred. And that will occur in February, I believe. And I will amend this for the next board meeting to include AP testing window, but I can tell you that that window is May 6th through the 17th, 2019. And I have also been working on an assessment continuum. I thought that there was one available in another district, but they have since changed that. So I'll just be doing my own. So I'll include that as well in the next packet.
And for the others' benefit, can you explain what an assessment continuum is?
So what the assessment continuum shows is just over time, what kind of assessment occurs at kindergarten, first grade, so that you can see a profile for a student over the 13 years that they're in school. So I loved the example that I once had from another district because it was just a real clear snapshot. If I were a parent, I could look and see my first grader is going to have maps and dibbles or more formalized assessments. So I'm going to put that together since my resource has fallen through. I know.
So the only substantive change to the assessment plan is the NAEP exam? Okay.
Yeah, that is the only substantive change.
Does anyone else have questions?
So this is my ignorance as far as what NAEP is. Is this something that they're going to have to do specialized instruction in the fourth grade class, or is it something they're already teaching that they're just going to come audit?
Absolutely no specialized instruction. It is an assessment that appears, and it's federally required, and it's to get a sampling across districts, demographics, states. I mean, it really is to provide this national view.
And it won't have any implications as far as passing?
Absolutely
fourth grade or
none.
anything?
None.
Thank you.
No. Great questions, Nathan. Thanks.
So it's just that, how do they decide? It's just that they put
It is
everybody's name
random.
in a-
They're looking for certain demographics, certain, a list of characteristics, and so it really is computer generated, and schools get picked or not, and for whatever reason.
Well, lucky Franklin.
Yeah.
Stephanie will have a
Yeah.
fun time.
All right.
Thank you, Roberta.
Yes, thank you very much. Our next discussion item this evening is the PHS FFA grant acceptance presented by Superintendent Maxwell.
Thank you. So I brought this before at the last meeting. Typically we don't bring these, but I want to call attention because one of the amount, and two, just to highlight another way that we're trying to be fiscally responsible and be able to sustain what we have to offer here in the Pullman School District. But I want to congratulate Rob Matthews, CTE teacher, who received a $20,000 grant from the Washington FFA Foundation to purchase some science equipment. And so one of the things that we're bringing towards to the board today would be acceptance of the donation of $20,000 for the purchase of that equipment that'll benefit both staff and students.
Is this something you would like moved to an action item?
It's not critical that it goes to an action item at this time, but it would be helpful to get the purchase of the equipment started earlier if you would.
Honestly, I would move that we move it to an action item to vote on.
Okay.
This evening.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we move this PHS FFA grant acceptance to an action item. Is there any discussion with that?
Do we know what equipment they're going to purchase?
Rob was going to get me a list. He had mentioned it briefly, two pieces of equipment, and they're escaping me right now, but I asked him to send me a list. But
So it has been moved and seconded that we move this to an action item. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it is now an action item. I would now entertain a motion on the item itself.
I move that we approve the acceptance of the $20,000 grant.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the $20,000 grant from Washington FFA Foundation. Any further discussion?
Bob, I think last meeting you were going to write a thank you note to Rob.
yes,
Or write a
and I actually
congratulatory note.
already actually sent it, and so hand wrote that on behalf of the board. So
Thank you. Thank you.
very much.
in anticipation that you would approve it. But yes,
Are there any strings attached? No. To the motion?
no strings attached.
All right. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is Policy 4130, Title I Parent and Family Engagement, presented by Assistant Superintendent Kramer.
Okay, so this policy has been rewritten based on the changes to the federal legislation, or ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act, and makes a shift in title change. And I want to call your attention to that. It has gone from parent and family involvement to engagement. And I think that that word makes a huge difference. It certainly speaks to our obligation to ensure that families are engaged in the work that we're doing and making them a valuable partner, even more so than what we have in the past. And so I'm really excited about that piece. Another piece is that in the past, much of the expectation was really on the schools to develop this. And as you can see from the language that's proposed, it starts with the district plan and then individual school plans. And I'm not going to say that they're going to be incredibly variable, but I think too that's important. It's important for us as a district to understand what that looks like. And next year we'll have two schools, Franklin and Sunnyside, that have to develop specific plans for their build. Franklin and Sunnyside, I said Franklin and Jefferson are the two schools, not Sunnyside, sorry, that will need to then develop specific school plans. And then another change is that the procedure has gone away, and I think that I've been noticing that. I think I came to you just recently with another policy that had the procedure deleted, and it was all included in the policy. And I think that that's really to emphasize the importance and ensuring that not only do district officials and school officials take all of this work seriously, but that it's important for the board as well to support and engage in this work. I did find one typo in the changes that I have submitted to you, but I'm happy to answer any questions at this time, and certainly look forward to bringing it to you again in 2 weeks.
Sorry to say I'm just scanning it now, but what about parent PTA, PTOs involvement? Because but their events are so important in getting the parents.
And this is a shift in the new law and its language, is that that's not enough. So to offer those are activities that all kids, and in addition to that, for children that qualify for Title I supports and services, we also need to do more than that. And so it's that academic piece around math nights or ELA night, and all our schools are doing those pieces, and it's really to reach out and make sure that families have the opportunity. Another piece that's a change are that we have to be more flexible in our time of day, not necessarily when we offer those kinds of activities, but when we offer meetings with parents. So if they want to understand the school-wide plan, say at Jefferson or Franklin, we need to offer that not just in the evening.
So is it just for Title I parents?
Yes.
Or
Yeah,
is it for all students?
No, this is, but both of our schools are school-wide, so for those schools, it's for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that has been the situation in the past, so fortunately we're not faced with that.
Okay. So.
But it really is to engage our families and to take responsibility for that, which is really important.
I think somewhere in here it should be something about supporting the PTAs or something. I mean, you've got to acknowledge that their activities are hugely important for our elementary and middle schools. Even the high school, the boosters do have.
Right, but that's some other parent engagement, that this is specific to Title I and to the law of Title I and ESSA.
So you can't work with them and all, I mean.
You can, and we certainly
you
support
can,
that,
well,
but this policy is specifically for Title I.
You're going to have two separate entities working there.
I'm not saying that it's a
The
perfect
more the
system.
merrier, I guess. Okay.
Any other questions about policy 4130? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Next, we have policy 4260, use of school facilities, presented by, do you know if Joe's here?
I'm going to pinch hit for Joe.
Okay. In place of Executive Director of Operations Joe Thornton, we will have Superintendent Maxwell.
Great. So, this is one of the policies that we've been going back and through our process of trying to update our past policies and procedures that are out of date, as well as take in the recommended language from WASDA. This is one of those. So there's some minor language changes that have been suggested to be within alignment with WASDA sample policy language. In addition, language currently in the district's procedure describing 3 different categories of user groups have been moved to the policy in alignment with WASDA's sample policy language. So one of the things that we have changed is the Pullman School District Board of Directors recognizes that public schools are owned and operated by and for the community. They had believes, but we thought believes was not correct. It's we really recognize that because that's what it is. So that's a slight change. You can see that we've taken out some language regarding alcoholic beverages and illegal drugs because that is included in the updated policy below. So basically the big changes is making 3 different types of user groups. So the first one would be school or child-related groups or other government agencies that would be using our facilities. Non-profit groups that would be using our school facilities. And commercial enterprises that would be using our facilities. So under each of those, it talks about how that would operate, what would be the rules and regulations for operating within a school facility. And this is just a policy, not the procedures. So it just kind of simplifies it into 3 umbrella groups.
When it says the nonprofit groups must certify that 60% of the funds they raise, where did I see that? There. The charity will receive at least 60% of the gross revenues received from the public prior to approval to use the facilities. Where did that figure come from? Is that a WASDA figure? Or?
I think that was a figure that's been put in by WASDA, and I can check a little bit more on the specifics of that.
It's just kind of interesting is all. I just couldn't figure out if it was a willy-nilly figure.
I think it's it might go back to a figure to take a look at nonprofits to see how much they're really donating versus
to make sure they're
expending
really
on administrative
nonprofit.
costs.
Yeah, right.
So,
but yeah, this is 60%
I think
of
that's
gross,
a link,
so.
but
Okay.
I can find out.
All right, thank you, Bob.
No, that's absolutely good question, but I believe there is a link there, so I will check on that.
I'm sure this is probably a procedure question, but just in case I never asked, how does one schedule, or who do you speak with to schedule school facilities?
We have a electronic reservation system.
And then does that go to the buildings themselves, or is it go to
There's
the
a whole
office?
chain of command, so it goes to the building and it works its way up to the district level. So there's several people that have to sign off on it before it's issued.
And that's on the website?
Yes, it is.
And even though we're updating the policy, we don't need to do anything with the procedure. The procedure's clean.
We're going to work on,
aligns
I
with
believe
this.
Joe's working on the policy first, and then we're going to go back and take a look at the procedure. Just to make sure it's in alignment.
Thanks.
Any other discussion on that? Okay. Last discussion item, WASDA Legislative Assembly attendance. We know that Susan is going. We would love to send another delegate. Is anyone, and I know Amanda is not available. Is anyone else available and interested?
I'm interested, but unfortunately unavailable.
I think that it's the legislative conference in January, February, where we get to go to the Hill and we meet with our representatives personally, and we caucus as a District 10 caucus and that sort of thing. That may be more effective, and I would really like somebody else to go there. I go because I'm on a WASDA committee that meets at the same time. So
What is it? When is this one?
that's in either January, usually late January or early February in Olympia.
I want to say like the last weekend or Sunday, Monday of January.
It's kind of interesting. You go there.
I will commit now on public record to
there
go
you
with
go.
you in January.
I'll hold you
But
to it.
unfortunately, the 21st, 22nd doesn't work. But I will hold the
tell
January meetings just for you.
Okay.
And for our own sanity.
Boy, can I
with
show
the
you a
legislature.
fun time. No, it is. It is. I don't know if it's really a fun time, but it's interesting, and you get to one-on-one times with your representatives.
I have some
and-
questions I would like to ask.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. That's a good time for it.
I think it needs to be 2.
But
And if you'd like to trump that.
No, that's fine. I just was curious.
Part of the appeal, I think, of this event in Spokane is it's kind of like a professional development learning opportunity too, just to see, oh, what is WASDA legislative stuff do? You know, what is that involved with? Kind of the low investment of it just being up in Spokane. You can just drive up for the day and come home, and sometimes they have some interesting tours and things that they tack on when they do it.
Usually the first day is the best day because they have representatives there, and then Jessica Vargas, the WASDA legislative liaison, is there talking about what the budget is, projections, and what the thrust of the government is and that sort of thing. So there's some really interesting things. The second day is usually the delegate assembly, and only one delegate from a district can vote on any of the resolutions and things that are being passed. So if somebody else wants to go and vote, I won't hold them back, but it's usually not terribly
You are our legislator.
exciting. Oh, fine.
Yeah.
But there's, sometimes you get some wordsmithing going on, and sometimes it's just, you just want to beat your head against the wall because they're arguing over words, and then they're changing this. And at one time last year, by the time they got done with this whole thing, it was nothing. I mean, it was a whole bunch of phrases. There was not a complete sentence in this thing. I finally pointed out, says, you're going to have to reword this because it was, it's a test of patience. Sadly, I have none, so it almost killed me, but I made it through.
Seeing that no one else can go, I will try my best to get out of my obligations on the 21st and 22nd.
Even the first day, I would highly recommend, like Susan mentioned, that has a lot of good sessions to attend. The second day, frankly, is...
I sent Bob home.
Yeah,
Bob, you don't want to be here.
Yeah, and I did not want to be here after I realized what it was, but...
Nathan, when do you think you would know about whether you...
I would have to speak with some folks at work, probably by the end of the week, I can tell
Okay,
you for sure.
because this is just a discussion item tonight.
Oh, and then next time?
Yeah.
I'll definitely know by next meeting.
Okay.
Get to stay at the Davenport Grand.
That's very
Whoopee.
acceptable.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the strange
just
lions.
Yeah.
So one commercial announcement, Roberta checked on the dates of the Legislative Assembly, and it's actually February 10th and 11th this year, which I think that's the first time that's...
And that's in Olympia?
Yes, that's in Olympia.
Yeah, if you want to go visit them on the hill, that's the best hill to go to.
I will commit to going to that one.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry.
That's great. No,
Thank you, Roberta.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. There are some informational items on the agenda, including the procedure that accompanies policy 4130 that we discussed earlier. And then, if there are no objections, we will recess into an executive or closed session for the purpose of evaluating complaints against public employees and negotiations. Approximately how long will our executive session take?
I think it's going to be at least 90 minutes.
Oh, joy.
Okay. And so we will recess into an executive session of approximately 90 minutes. No action will be taken. And then following that session, our board meeting will be adjourned.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.